working with all the world's governments and seeing how AI is both being applied and adopted and invested and scaled in almost every country in the world, it is very hard to think that this is a bubble, that this is a trend, or that this is a fad. It doesn't feel that way at all from my vantage point. And I have done this now, for nearly 9 years, and across every country, across every vertical, and through multiple companies. And my opinion is more robust today than it was in 2016, which is this is a general purpose technology that will change everything. So we have to be mindful of that. So when I see your presentation, and it's a very sophisticated point of view, your perspective on, we'll call it, we have a term, silicon diversity, which is the purpose being that you cannot have sovereignty as a nation if you do not have choice. You cannot have sovereignty of a nation if you surrender control of the most important critical technology of our time to a single vendor. You cannot have sovereignty if you don't have resilience. Because if you believe, and I do, that AI is the fundamental driver now of both economic prosperity and national security. So essentially it's the true determinism for the future of a nation. If you believe that, and then you put all of the technology into a single ecosystem where a single company can flip a switch and turn it off, then you don't have sovereignty anymore. You need diversity, and you need competition, and you need openness. And that's the only way that works, right? So and competition can come from many different sides. There's local competition, right? There's foreign competition, that's all good, right? But you want to have all of those things. So you need silicon diversity, you need supplier diversity, you need openness, you need collaboration, and actually on that note, the examples of the cross-border collaboration is brilliant. Incredibly important. We are kind of in a strange time now, where there's a little more inwardness focus in some countries. There's a little more nationalism around AI. My stack versus your stack, and that's fine. That's going to do it. That's politics, and we're not going to get into politics. But from a regional perspective, countries are much stronger working together. I actually see this quite a bit. Certainly you see it in Europe, certainly you see it in ASEAN nations, and it's really great to see here. Phenomenal, because smaller countries the ability to exponentially move faster by sharing knowledge and tools, even energy, right? As you go around the world, and this is particularly true of island nations, right? The Caribbean nations, they have physical limits to what they can do on their country, right? And so they have to depend on neighbors and partners in other countries to realize their full potential, right? So, we are entering this incredible age of opportunity for cross-border collaboration. AI has always been a very global, sort of open community in terms of scientists and cross-border. If you look at all the best papers written in AI, the majority of them have authors from multiple countries. So that's not a new idea. But as nations pursue sovereignty and they pursue all these great opportunities, to do it also with a mindfulness of doing it together in a region. That's very important, and that's a terrific part of the narrative that you gave this morning. And we love to be a part of that, we really do. So AMD is very proud of our heritage. We're very proud of the 55 years that we've been driving technology innovation around the world. We've had our own ups and downs and chapters like anybody, and today we feel like we are on top of the world, one of the top 30 most valuable companies on the planet, the only one of 2 general purpose GPU computing platforms on the planet. In fact, this morning I'm proud to announce, because it was embargoed until a few hours ago, that France announced that their largest sovereign AI factory for science, their newest supercomputer, which is called, named after a prominent French scientist, Alex Lecoq. The Alex Lecoq AI supercomputer will be powered by AMD, and that was announced this morning by the President of France. And so, we're very proud of the role that we play in the global economy, and that's great. But what we really take pride in is the role we play in individual nations and in their future. And we consider it a privilege to work closely with the stakeholders here and to make a meaningful contribution, not just to build computers and put GPUs in data centers, and that's the business, sure, but that's not the mission. The mission's much bigger, and the mission is to execute you have an AI strategy. Many countries do. I think I read that 9 out of the 20 LATAM countries have an AI strategy. That's a good start, but you have to implement the strategy. And I was one of the very first, maybe the first, it's hard to know. I was one of the first advisors in the world on this topic. I wrote or co-wrote a number of the AI strategies for Europe back in the day, and have continued to serve on multiple national AI committees. And when people say, well, who's doing well and who's leading, it's a very hard question to answer. Yes, there are indexes and that kind of thing, but the truth is every country has their own path. Many countries, maybe 80, 85 at this point, have a strategy, right? But many of them are struggling to implement it, right? To put resources behind it and to have the political will and the financial strength and even the collaboration in the private sector. These kinds of meetings, these kind of projects, this is very, very important. It's a strategy, it's a piece of paper. So you do have to implement it at scale, and you have to actually follow it through to make sure that you're unlocking all that potential across every part of your economy. And that takes work. I mean, that isn't a 1 year initiative. In fact, this isn't a race like in a traditional race where there's a goal, where there's an end point. This is an infinite race. This is forever. This is the new world that we live in. One of the probably the hardest things to tell a government leader when I have these conversations about AI, one of the first questions they ask, and usually in a smaller setting, is how much should we spend? And I have a very disappointing answer for them, which is how much can you afford? Because there's no good answer to that question. Not a single country on earth can say with confidence that they know exactly how much computing they have within their border or how much they need. And it's not because people aren't smart or that there isn't some data, but it's just not clear how much AI you'll produce or how much computing you need. You can make an assumption, build a model, but let's just say there's no universal answer to that question. So similarly, when it comes to partnerships and it comes to strategies, again, the indexes are useful, but it doesn't really matter where you are today. What matters is where you're going to be in the future, and that's a choice. And what's great about what we see here in Chile is that you've made a choice to invest. You have this incredible organization. You recognize the importance of Silicon diversity. You recognize the importance of cross-border collaboration. I mean, these are all best practices. So again, it's an honor to be here. We look forward to the rest of the day, and obviously we look forward to the rest of the journey together. And so thank you again for doing this.